trick play. It is set up wide open into the end zone.
BYU and ESPN agree to a new 7-year contract.
Timmy Allen up top to Jones. Jones ties it.
BYU men's basketball loses out to the Utes in overtime.
BYU was a top 4 seed last year. This year, BYU will still be at home and open up against New Mexico.
Number 14 BYU women's volleyball hosts the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament starting tonight against New Mexico State. I'm Blake O'Rulian.
And I'm Paul Swenson, and it's time for Sportsline. Blake,
Last show.
it's been a ride, man.
It has
I can't
been
believe
so
it's already
much
here.
fun. It's a little cold today.
Yeah, I am chilly.
Yeah, what do you got under there?
Oh, what is that?
It's Jersey Day here in the newsroom.
Is that Dwayne Wade?
Yeah, it's Dwayne Wade. Are you Donovan Mitchell today?
Donovan Mitchell, the next Dwayne Wade.
Oh my gosh, yes, the next Dwayne Wade with a 3-point shot. Anyways, BYU and ESPN agreed on a 7-year deal to televise BYU's home football games.
That's right. The deal will be in effect starting next season.
That's a backwards pass. It's a trick play. It is set up wide open into the end zone.
The deal runs through the 2026 season and guarantees BYU a bowl game when they are eligible. BYU has been in negotiations with ESPN about a contract extension for more than a year. The Cougars' deal with ESPN started in 2011 when they went independent.
The excitement of Yoli Child's returns to the court for the Cougars was squashed this week as they fell to the University of Utah 102-95 in overtime.
Timmy Allen up top to Jones. Jones ties it.
Yoli scored 29 points in his return from his NCAA suspension until he had to leave the game with 5 minutes remaining in regulation with cramps. BYU held the lead the whole game until the final 2 minutes when Utah came up big with a game-tying 3-pointer from Rylan Jones to send it into overtime. BYU couldn't gain any momentum in overtime, though, as Utah pulled away for the 7-point win. Jake Toulson added 27 points for the Cougars, while Timmy Allen led with the Utes with 27. BYU women's basketball looks to bounce back on the road after a tough loss last week against Utah. The team travels to face Arizona State tonight for the third of 4 Pac-12 teams the Cougars face this season. The Cougars are 6-3 against the Sun Devils, with their last game coming in 2010, a 61-53 victory. The game kicks off at 6 p.m. Mountain Time and can be streamed on the Pac-12 network.
The BYU women's volleyball team begins their quest for a second straight NCAA semifinal appearance tonight after earning a number 14 seed in this year's tournament. This marks the 8th straight tournament appearance for the Cougars, who are still seeking their first national championship in program history.
Continuing the right side of your bracket, BYU was a top 4 seed last year. This year, BYU will still be at home and open up against New Mexico State.
Riding high on 3 straight wins to end the regular season, the BYU women's volleyball team enters the NCAA tournament with a first-round matchup against New Mexico State. This marks the 6th time in the past 8 years the Cougars have earned a seeded position in the tournament, an honor given to only 16 of the 64 teams in the bracket. The Aggies, who finished the regular season with a 27-3 record,
The Aggies keep it alive here.
won the WAC tournament 2 weeks ago and entered tonight's match on a 19-game winning streak.
Hart with the swing. Hart tools the block.
As the 14th seed, the Cougars host the first 2 rounds of the tournament. If the Cougars win tonight, they could face another familiar opponent, Utah.
21 kills for Danny Drew.
The Utes also play today in a first-round matchup with Illinois out of the Big Ten Conference. Illinois finished their season with just a 16-13 record, but the Fighting Illini are tougher than their record implies, as they played nearly half their games against ranked opponents. As for Utah, the Utes finished their season with a 22-9 record and 3 straight wins over Pac-12 conference opponents.
But a lot of positives the Utes can take.
If both BYU and Utah win in the first rounds, the teams will play for the second time this season, but this time with everything on the line. If the Cougars can make it past New Mexico State tonight, they'll be in for another tough test Saturday as well.
Today's games will begin at 4 p.m. in the Smith Fieldhouse with Utah taking on Illinois. BYU and New Mexico State will follow that match at 7 p.m. and the winners of today's games will play Saturday tomorrow at 7 p.m.
On top of hosting the NCAA tournament, BYU women's volleyball dominated the WCC honors. Sportsline reporter Hara Hossain talked to 2 of the standout players about what these awards mean to them.
That's right. BYU's very own senior outside hitter McKenna Miller won WCC Player of the Year, and senior libero Mary Lake also won Libero of the Year for the WCC. These girls dominate on and off the court.
Stratton cross court. What a dig by Miller.
McKenna Miller averaged 3.35 kills per set, totaled 28 aces, 59 digs, and 38 blocks as BYU finished 6-2 in conference play. Mary Lake is BYU's all-time leader in career digs at 1,877 and recorded 234 digs, 88 assists, and 15 aces against conference opponents. Although these girls definitely deserve the awards, they weren't expecting to win them.
My sophomore and junior year, that was my goal. I was like, oh, I want to be player of the year. And this year was kind of I just want to be playing because I was coming off my knee. And so I didn't really ever think of it.
It's an honor, obviously, and I'm really grateful. I just was a little surprised because we have some really good liberos in the WCC.
This team has dominated their conference, and McKenna and Mary are just 2 of the 9 BYU players to receive WCC honors. Although they won the awards individually, they give the credit to the team as a whole.
It's not just me, and so it's a really big honor, but I think it's more honor for our team here at BYU.
You don't get any award without a great team, and so I know that that's a cliche, but you don't, and unless your team's successful, it's harder to get that recognition.
Ace serve to win it.
These girls have become a major component to this women's volleyball team, and we're wishing them and the team luck as they begin tournament play. I'm Sarah Hosine reporting for SportsLine.
Thanks, Sarah.
The BYU men's volleyball team was voted the #3 team in the country in the AVCA preseason poll. Despite their 13-12 record last season, the Cougars will have all 6 starters returning to the starting lineup, and this season they hope to stay healthy. The Cougars will begin their season in the first week of January as they will hit the ground running, traveling to Illinois to face #6 Lewis and #11 Loyola Chicago.
BYU men's cross country won the national championship last week, and Sportsline reporter Lindsey Peterson caught up with the head coach to talk about their big win and his coaching legacy.
The BYU men's cross-country team won the national championship last week in dramatic fashion, running through the rain and the mud, but the man behind all the success is head coach Ed Eystone.
Finishing 3rd 2 years ago, 2nd last year, we were that much closer to the top of the mountain, and then to see it finally all come together was a really exciting experience for us.
Coach Eystone is the first coach in NCAA cross-country history to win the national championship as a collegiate runner and as a coach.
Well, they were both really sweet feelings,
After Eystone won the title himself in 1984, he went on to run professionally into the late 90s. He signed a multi-year shoe contract with Reebok, was a 5-time U.S. Road Racer of the Year, and competed in the 1988 and 1992 Olympics. But Eystone knew his running career would come to an end sometime, and that's when he knew what he wanted to do, coach.
Any person who's had a great experience in their college experience would love to return to their alma mater. I knew BYU was a special place.
So besides his accomplished running career, what makes him an exceptional coach?
But I think the #1 thing that you have to establish in any successful distance program is consistency.
And needless to say, he has created that consistent team culture in his 20 years as the head coach of BYU men's cross country, with 14 conference titles, 15 All-Americans, and now a national championship. But Coach Eystone knows that no matter his successes, it takes a village.
It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to win a national championship, and I have a great village that I'm a part of.
In Provo for Sportsline, I'm Lindsey Peterson.
Coming home didn't fix the Jazz losing streak this week.
LeBron gets him up off his feet with that deadly pump counted. Fuller, he looked at who was guarding.
What went wrong and how the Jazz can turn it around this weekend.
Jackson needs 5 and gets none.
We'll tell you what NFL award former Cougar Fred Warner took home this week.
And I'll show you what moment caused absolute mayhem throughout the NBA and how people have been reacting on social media.
James Harden and the Houston Rockets were denied the points for a dunk Harden made after the refs thought he had missed. The decision would have been inconsequential had the game not ended in a tie after regulation and then won in overtime by the San Antonio Spurs.
Our guy Hayden Wallace has all the buzz on social media from the reaction. Hayden, what are people so upset about?
Well, Blake, mostly people are very upset about this, and to be honest, I kind of agree with them. I'm not a huge Harden fan per se, but when you see what happened, it's hard not to side with him. So let's take a look at the moment that sparks the controversy.
8 minutes to go. Harden the steal and the dunk. Oh, he missed it! No, that ball was good. It came out. Wait a minute. The official's checking it out. Oh, remember the modern play?
So now we've seen what happened. Let's see what people have been saying on social media. First up, Jay Williams of ESPN said, "I understand refs make mistakes. We're all human, but the missed call of the Harden dunk last night really takes the prize. If the ball goes through the net, the bucket is good. Period. Houston Rockets should have won in regulation." There are reports of a possible replay happening between the two teams, maybe even replaying the final part of the game, but nothing has been confirmed, and even that news hasn't been received well. Tim McMahon, also of ESPN, said that scenario would at least temporarily take a 50-point game away from Harden. He would have 36 points, including the dunk, and with 7:50 remaining, Lonnie Walker would have 23 of his career-high 28 points wiped out. But let's end on a good note and look at this account here that saw the lighter side of the events, and they said, "James Harden is so good he almost made 2 baskets with 1 dunk." The verdict on whether a replay will happen or if Houston will be given the win outright remains to be seen, but it will certainly be an interesting saga to follow.
The BYU softball team is coming off a dominant season and looks to repeat their success.
We have a veteran team and we have very strong pitching and a really good defense. Defense wins championships.
What the expectations are for this upcoming season and how they are preparing during their off-season.
I feel like the team's been doing really well.
And the BYU gymnastics team is wrapping up their off-season. We'll show you how they are training for their first meet.
When you think of Miami, you think of, rich, glamour, but 5 miles away from the beach, there's people who've never seen the beach. I was confused why somebody was in this situation, especially in America. So when I started Joshua's Heart Foundation, it was a key thing to be able to engage youth in the foundation, to help them participate. I think passing on the torch and lighting a new flame in another person to do good is probably one of the bigger missions that I have. So we are each making a bigger difference. That's it, just giving back and producing love for everybody.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but one of the teachers was Miss Araceli. She gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll sit there with you until you get it. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
The BYU softball team continues with training in preparation for the 2020 season, which kicks off in February.
That's right, reporter Karani Namunyu tells us what the team is doing to stay competitive.
The team is focusing more on hitting to increase its competitiveness in the 2020 season. The BYU softball team won the West Coast Conference title this year, stamping their dominance in the conference after winning it 5 times consecutively. Coach Gordon Eakin says he's delighted with the performance of the team, but maintains that he's working on strategies to enable them to come out stronger to win more games. He adds that the softball squad for next season is strong in all areas of play.
Yeah, we have a veteran team and we have very strong pitching and a really good defense. Defense wins championships. We also have good hitting, but we have to stay strong on the mound and defensively. And I'm confident with this veteran group we will do that this year.
Coach Aiken emphasizes that fighting every single inning and pitch is what will win the team more conference titles and improve their performance at the national games. Arisa Paulson, who is one of the team's pitchers, won the West Coast Conference Pitch of the Year award. She attributes her good performance on teamwork and training hard. Arisa reveals that she's putting in all the efforts because she has a desire to go professional. Her teammate Autumn Moffat says winning the conference again this year boosted their motivation as a team. Autumn adds that the team chemistry is one of the key elements that helps the team perform well.
It's been awesome. It took a lot of working together, coming together, and putting in a lot of work to make sure that we would accomplish that goal. But yeah, it took a lot of work. It took so many of us like pushing each other, which just makes us better.
The BYU softball team kicks off its campaign to defend the West Coast Conference title next year. Their first game is away February 6th in Mexico. The team hopes to keep dominating the WCC for the 6th year in a row. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Karani.
Receiving a perfect score is nearly impossible in the world of gymnastics, but the BYU gymnastics team is setting their goals for this upcoming season to reach higher scores. Sportsline reporter Sierra Phipps went to one of their practices to see how the team is doing. Sierra.
The team is hard at work getting ready to start their season that begins in just 3 short weeks.
The BYU gymnastics team is working hard during their off-season and with their goals set high, look forward to their first meet in January. Gymnastics consists of 4 events that challenge the women both physically and mentally.
4 events in gymnastics. There's bars, which is the uneven bars. There's a lot of swinging involved, a lot of flipping, and it's really fun. Balance beam, it's a 4-inch piece of wood pretty much with a little bit of padding on it. And then there's the vaults. You run, and you punch on the springboard and flip and try to stick the landing and get that high score. And then there's a floor exercise, and that's where most people like to watch because it's really crowd involved and it's a lot of fun and dancing and there's fun music.
Gymnastics is one of the most difficult sports to master, and the women are prepared to do well this upcoming season. From all of the hard work they are putting in, they have set their goals high and expect to receive nearly perfect scores.
I have a goal to compete all around this year. And I want to get a 9.95 on beam and a 9.95 on floor.
My goals this season, to start on beam, be in the lineup every meet, and to hit at every competition and to get a 9.9.
The team works hard at every practice and have felt prepared for over a month.
I think we've been training for it and ready for it for probably a month, so I feel like we're all just excited for it to be here.
The team's first meet is after the holidays at home January 6th in the Marriott Center at 5:30.
One of the oldest clubs on BYU campus is the Karate Club. Reporter Sydney Smith checked it out. Sydney, what are their meetings like?
The BYU Karate Club meets here at the Wilkinson Center every Tuesday night. Here's a little bit of what they do.
I think it's a fun club because punching pads is a lot of fun after a long, stressful day. It's a style focused heavily on being ready for counters, which lends itself very well to being able to defend yourself regardless of how big the other person is.
We'll focus on one little thing each practice, maybe a kick or a punch or a block. So an hour and a half of focusing on that one thing, getting kind of okay at it, and then something different the next time.
Generally the people who enjoy coming to our club are the people who are looking for a little bit of exercise, because you'll sweat if you're doing it right.
Lauren also tells me that the Karate Club has been around for over 25 years.
One of the more interesting things about our club is we're actually, as far as I'm aware, by far the oldest club on campus. We've been running continuously for 25 years. It is free to practice with us, and we just look for more people to come have a little bit of fun. Then at the end, we usually end up playing some Super Smash, so we beat each other up virtually, too.
At first, people come because they're like, oh, karate is cool. That's why I started. But then I kept going because it helps keep me in a good state of mind. So if I stopped doing it, I think my life would be just a little bit harder.
As Lauren mentioned, the Karate Club is free for students to join, so if you're interested, then make sure you drop by next semester. Reporting for Sportsline, I'm Sydney Smith.
Thanks, Sydney. The Jazz hosted LeBron and the Lakers earlier this week, but fell 121-96.
Pocket. Rondo will pick it up. Oh my.
Bojan Bogdanovic had 23 points to add to our guy Donovan Mitchell's team-leading 29, but it wasn't quite enough. The Lakers took a double-digit lead in the second quarter and never looked back. Anthony Davis led the Lakers with 26 points, and LeBron chipped in 20. The Jazz will look to get back on track when they take on the Grizzlies tomorrow night.
Real Salt Lake hires Freddie Juarez as the new head coach following his period as interim head coach at the end of last season. Juarez took over as interim coach for RSL at the beginning of August following the termination of Mike Petke and posted a 5-4-1 record with a trip to the playoffs, falling to the eventual champions in Seattle. Juarez and Real will look to start off the home season right on March 7th, 2020. Former BYU football linebacker Fred Warner wins NFC Defensive Player of the Month for his performances with the San Francisco 49ers.
Jackson needs 5 and gets none. Knocked away by Fred Warner. Great coverage on Andrews, and the 49ers take over on downs.
Warner had 44 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and 2 forced fumbles in the month. Warner will look to continue his success against former teammate Taysom Hill this Sunday as the 49ers take on the New Orleans Saints. The Dallas Cowboys had a strong 17-point fourth quarter, but were not able to overcome an early deficit against the Chicago Bears in a 31-24 loss.
He keeps again. One-on-one, tackle missed, touchdown, Trubisky.
Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky went 23 for 31 for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns, plus a rushing touchdown to power the Bears to victory. On the Cowboys end, Dak Prescott went for 27 for 49, 334 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Bears face the Packers next, with the Cowboys taking on the Rams.
We have some special top plays to end off the semester.
That's right, we'll show you who made the highlight reel and much more.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
Sometimes the things we do or say can make others feel hurt, excluded, or isolated. Everything you say and do creates an impact.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
Because of you, someone's entire life can change. You don't have to be a superhero to have a positive impact.
Friends?
Friends.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. This is a serious problem, but one we can solve. Visit feedingamerica.org to help. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're feeding America.
Jazz. And for him, it's still had Fred open.
Coming in at number 3 for your not top plays of the week, Serge Ibaka. Here he is looking for an open man. He finds Fred VanVleet wide open in the corner. Only problem is Fred VanVleet was not in the game.
Coming in at number 2, UFC lightweight champion of the world, Khabib Nurmagomedov, was playing some basketball with his teammates, but you got to dribble that ball, Khabib. What are you doing out there? I do like the ball away, though. Let's try to get this guy a contract with the Warriors. They could use some help.
And coming in number 1, LeBron takes a few notes from Khabib's playbook. LeBron, you know in basketball you got to dribble the ball, right? He's the greatest player of all time, and maybe he'll figure that out pretty soon.
All right, we're going to do this week's matchups. We're going to stick to the NFL this time. 49ers versus the Saints. What do you got, Paul?
Okay, first of all, I got to say I'm a little biased towards the Saints because I have Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara on my fantasy football team. However, that being said, I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game, shootout, get me a lot of fantasy points. But I like the 49ers in this game. I think that Jimmy G is going to have a good game. I really like that 49ers defense. They're going to bounce back from last week's loss to the Ravens.
Yes, I also like the 49ers. I mean, they're going to New Orleans, but I think they have more on the line here. Maybe New Orleans might be a little complacent. I don't know, but I think
the Saints will take it home. They have had a good couple of games the last couple weeks, so I think they got it.
My question is, where's you guys' school spirit? I'm going with Taysom Hill and the New Orleans Saints, one of the biggest stars in the history of BYU football. Awesome. Let's take a look now at what's going on with our BYU teams this weekend. The BYU women's basketball team will be facing in Arizona against Arizona State in Tempe today at 6 p.m. Women's volleyball will host New Mexico State tonight at 7 p.m. If they win that, they will play the winner of Utah versus Illinois tomorrow at 7 p.m. Also tomorrow, BYU men's basketball takes on UNLV in Salt Lake City at 1 p.m.
That's Sportsline for Friday, December 6th.
Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, go Cougars.
Are you guys going to the game tomorrow? Really?